Welcome to the Your Little Castle Show, where we highlight the best experts that make your home into your little castle. Let's go! Welcome everyone to the Your Little Castle Show. The world has a few important things that make it go round. And I'd say something that if you'd asked me, and a lot of people may or may not know this about me, I was a programmer back in between 7th and 8th grade. Parents said, you are going to summer classes because we don't just sit around and do nothing during summer. So yours truly learned how to program BASIC back in the day. But in studio today, we have a world-renowned guru with regard to programming. Welcome, if you will, our guest, Brandon Twitty, who I know very well with regard to programming and is a genius when it comes to it. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing?
Thanks, Cardinal Cowboy.
And I appreciate you calling. But we're friends. Brandon and I have worked together on a lot of projects, and when it comes down to it, there's just some things I go, I can't do that, but I know somebody who can. And literally, there's a recent project we might talk about in a minute, depending on what we can't disclose certain things, but. I mean, I know a number of programmers, and I said, for this one, we've got to go. This is a big deal. And for big deals, I always go to Brandon. He is the owner of Code St. Louis. Brandon, tell us a little bit how you got into this, and why did you decide to become a programmer?
So that's a good question. So I didn't exactly choose to become a programmer. I got to be a programmer. I was working at a manufacturing plant, and I was making pretty decent money just being an average maintenance line supervisor, and I saw this guy come down with his nice pants on. He plugged into the machine that I couldn't be able to fix, and he'd fix it instantly, and that piqued my interest. So I had the Montgomery GI Bill from the military, and I used that to start doing some courses in programming, and basically picked up machine automation. And so I really started my programming career programming ladder logic in the manufacturing industry. I'm going to put on the screen, we'll shoot the wide shot. We often do show off our client's website. So there it is, code, STLOUIS.com, simple dev. I'm going to actually do the refresh because you've got some animated graphics that come in there. That's pretty cool. You can see the program. You made this website yourself. Yeah. Because you could do that too. I can. That's not where your bread and butter is. That's the sweet spot. You can do it, but something you love. All right. How long have you been actually doing this stuff? I mean, trace it back to the beginning, and so we can say 10, 11, 15, 20. Did you start when you were 4? I mean, when did you start doing this stuff? My first enterprise deployment of a machine or a robot was about 2012. And then for software, my first enterprise release into production was 2008. Computers will fix it for you. When do you trace this back that you were actually the hardcore programmer going and knocking it out for businesses? About 2010. Okay. So that was my first time in the field by myself, programming automation machine. Talk about a little bit of some of the major projects, you will, if you can mention some of these, because this will kind of blow you away, everybody. This gives you a little bit of the perspective that if you can do projects at the level we're talking here, there's literally nothing Brandon and his team can't do. And so that's where you need to understand what you got your hands on. And a number of things I know that you're personally developing that are world-changing, and we'll get to that in a minute. But talk a little bit about that. What biggest projects you've worked on without getting, like I said, giving away any secret information to kind of help people understand your background? Yeah, so like you said, some of the projects I can't specifically discuss. I spent multiple years leading architecture team and Department of Defense projects. One was super secret clearance one, and then one was you still had to have a security clearance to do. So that was pretty high level. We dealt with every single service member, active duty, and their dependents. So a lot of work, a lot of people, eyes on it. And then I've built some in-house projects. Again, I talked about dead inventory management system. So that basically connected big manufacturing companies' ERP systems
Tell everybody what ERP is.
Enterprise resource planning.
Right.
So it would basically calculate their inventory level needs and give them a suggestion of what is access and what's not. And then if they deemed it access, they would just basically press a button and it would go online for sale across the globe. So it was a global business within like 3 months. So it was quick. And then we raised some funding, and I ended up exiting the company. And now I'm on to the next project, which is financial automation. So everybody talks about that. But,
yes, if you can automate finances, then we've got big bucks we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
All right, so give me an objection, something you've dealt with when somebody said, hey, I'm not sure, I don't know, this is a problem. And then, whoop, there comes Brandon to make sure that this thing gets done. So I know you've been through it quite a bit with regard to, here's a big problem they've got. How do we fix this?
I think being at a high level in the software industry for pretty much my almost adult life, and then also I've done, I've been very high in human resources. I've been very high in obviously manufacturing, healthcare. So having all these different industries and seeing how you can apply software to large companies and or processes. Generally, I've either once solved that same solution or I've solved a similar solution. The financial industry has been some of the first times where I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? Because it's not an easy industry, very competitive, more so than probably any other industry. So I think that helps a lot. Just tackling problems. That's what programmers do. They solve problems all day long. So
I say the modern problem solver. I guess Confucius say philosophical stuff back in the day. Here's the problem and we can explain it. Today they go, here's the problem and here's how we're going to actually have a computer fix it. And I argue that if it can be done on a computer, boy, you can really change the world with regard to what's going on, because these machines, they're talking about AI. We can talk about AI a little bit. And we know our friend Elon Musk is changing the world, and he thinks Elon thinks AI is going to cause some problems potentially, because you're talking about how do you have machines that don't know when to stop, right? They take over. And how do you shut them down to say, well, these humans might be a problem. This is the Terminator thing they talked about in the movie that we all know and love in the series there. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I helped work out in the gym back in the day. No, I was joking. But I mean, literally, the AI and technology, this is the path that we're on. This is the stuff you delve in and help people understand. Tell us, what is it about that fuels your passion towards what we've got?
Yeah, so I get a lot of my information from TV. I'm just kidding. But there is one analyst on there that is talking about robotic processes inside the financial industry and how it's going to revolutionize so fast that your traditional banking and things, like, they're not going to know what to do, and it's going to be very hard for them to keep up. I'm talking about if they're not out in front right now, they're going to have some serious problems when it lands on their doorstep. I'll just throw some stats out there. My robot can analyze 4,000 stocks in like a minute, like a little over, maybe 5 minutes total. It can.
How much? Say that again, so everybody understands.
It can scan about 4,000 stocks and give you a complete technical report on all of them very, very fast.
The entire
stock market,
Dow, the
entire NASDAQ,
ARCA,
and then I do the crypto exchanges, which are small. They're 170, I think, on Coinbase right now, which I can do that like in a split second. So
and give a full analysis to say, here's the way this thing is going. Here's what's
here's your predictions of the next price action.
Next price action, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like something people should know when it comes to making a decision on what stocks to invest in and what stocks and what crypto is going crazy. All right. What would you say is the one thing that really sets your business apart? If there was one thing you said, we do this better than anybody, and I know we got a list of topics, and maybe so we'll get back into some of that. This is a two-part show, everybody, by the way. We're going to have a whole lot of information we cover here, and then we're going to have more in the second part. So we're doing a 15-minute interview here. We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment, and then the second half is where we're really going to dive into how his software works, what it does, this whole excitement you've got in the financial world, and what you have learned to program, to automate. I'll just say that much. If that doesn't give you an indication about what we're talking about, then maybe you should call Brandon directly and say how big this is, what he's working on. But what is it really that sets you apart? What would you argue is the thing that makes it so that there's no one else? Like in St. Louis, we've talked about this. Probably one or two other programmers, maybe. You might be the best guy in the city, maybe the Midwest, that has the knowledge and background you have. What sets you apart?
I think, so when I entered the software industry, I came from a very strict manufacturing background. So I was Six Sigma, Lean certified, all that stuff. So we were very metrics focused in the manufacturing industry. And when I got to the software industry and I got my first actual job programming every day or leading programmers, I noticed there was not a whole lot of just tracking of, it's kind of like, is this done, is it not? But there was really no way to put your finger on the pulse of, yes, this is actually working, besides just clicking it and saying, nope, it doesn't work. So, we keep those principles kind of at heart. So we do things a little bit more, I should say, in a process, as opposed to, we do adapt all of the agile stuff. We specifically do scaled agile framework. So,
ladies and gentlemen, we could go on hours and hours of this interview, but if you want to get programming done the right way, get a hold of Code St. Louis, codestlewis.com, and talk to Brandon, because he has a brilliant genius background of stuff I've personally witnessed. And we want to share more of that with you. We'll be back with our next segment. Stay tuned for more. This is the Your Little Castle Show. Thanks, everybody. So we're here on the Your Little Castle Show set, and in between doing some pretty cool interviews with some leaders in the community. Give it up for Eliza Shanowska. Tell everybody what you're most excited about.
I'm actually excited to be a part of it and help highlight St. Louis leaders and give all these companies an opportunity to get their name out and meet you and create awesome content.
Yeah, it's all about content, crushing it. Gary Vee is world famous. He's been on Letterman. I could tell Gary some cool stuff that you need to do, but if you make good looking content that people will remember, it stands out, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, genuine and memorable, and make it relatable. There
you go. Stay tuned for more fun on Your Little Castle Show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in studio here with codestlewis.com owner, founder, Brandon Twitty. We left off with our last interview with just kind of giving the overview, what your background is, how you got here, the kind of incredible stuff you've done as a programmer. Now let's talk a little about some of the key points. This is where you get into the nitty gritty so people can understand. Literally, the programmers, by now we kind of acknowledge this, they're watching us. They know what they're doing. They can track everything. Brandon's the guy that has to pick that stuff apart and make it work the right way and make these automations so that we continue in a positive direction. I know him personally. I know this is his attitude and his style. And but it's an integral part, incredible, just a vital part of what we do in our world today. And everybody knows that. So we're going to jump right into it again here, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Carter Rethwish, a.k.a. the Cardinal Cowboy. Some of you have seen me running around town for years, but I have a background in a little bit of programming, but mostly IT and managing web development and other related systems, and the big stuff on the web that makes everybody communicate. My master's degree is in media communications, if that makes sense. I got that at Webster University after going to St. Louis U, getting my undergrad in communications. So I talk to people, I'm like, here's one way we get the word out there. Now I learn how to get the word out there better. We use some slang that we won't use on camera for that to make fun and but it's all about communication and how we all interoperate, and these computers have really changed it. So let's jump into it. Brandon, tell us, again, welcome to the studio and the show here. Tell us a little bit about this stuff. If you were going to get into the depth of what you do, when actually programming, what is it that you really do as a programmer?
I read a lot.
Read a lot.
So I'm not sure if I read more or type more.
Yeah, I know your hands get busy. Lots of work to do with that.
Yeah. So, but I'm a full stack developer. So that means I can.
What's full stack development?
That means I pretty much can do anything that's needed. So some people primarily focus on front end or back end. Now, obviously, there's skills in there that I'm better at than other areas. Like I'm not the best designer, but if you put a Adobe sheet out,
Page looks pretty good.
I want it to look like this, I could probably get it pretty close. I might have to call in a designer at the end, but basically I can almost stand up the entire stack. So I try to divide up my days on I'm going to do front end work, back end work, or infrastructure. So that's basically kind of what my day to day is. And then like I said, I code sometimes 15 hours a day.
So I'm going to put up on the screen for everybody to see your website that is obviously something to behold, because this is where it all comes from. And if somebody wants to know where to get a hold of you and the work that you guys do, check it out. This is the website, code stlewis.com. That's a valuable site in and of its own. And wow, as a programmer goes, you do know what you're doing, and you're updating and changing the site all the time.
It'll be going through its full update this week. So
okay, and when it comes down to it, there's how you get a hold of Brandon. There's how you can see what he and his team do, and that is key to communication these days. Websites have turned into the and all of what we do when it comes down to getting the word out. And so Brandon has a beautiful website. All right, so let's talk a little more depth of the technologies that you use and the things you have to have available for people, because there's really, since you talked about two different types of, well, I'm gonna come back to that. In-house technology, how does that help benefit the clients?
Yeah, so
because when you have, go ahead, within in-house technology.
So we build a lot of, so first we build tools like that, solving some type of problem that we've either noticed, right, or it's directly affecting me. So a prime example would be, you're doing some investing or trading, and you turn your back to go to lunch, and you come back and you lost, I don't know, a couple $100. Well, it'd have been nice to have a text message to say, hey.
Could have been a couple $1,000.
I didn't want to disclose how fast you can lose or win money, and I'm sure most people know anyways. But so that's a good example of an in-house technology. But on top of that, we have a lot of boilerplate code that we've already built for that every application has. So every application is going to have login, it's going to have a database, it's going to have some type of DevOps, and it's going to have these fundamental parts every application is going to need. So we generally have all of that already built, and we keep all that stuff up to date. So if you don't update constantly, when you do have to go update, it can be a major overhaul. So so when somebody comes to us with an application, I wouldn't say that we choose our customer, but we definitely, if there's something that's just like off the charts, and we're not just going to take the client. So we do try to pair up their issue with our in-house tools that we're already solving issues with. So.
Well, and that is a key. If you're going to build something, it's a little easier if some of that's already been prepped, and you have like a cookie cutter. You say, here we have a plugin for that, and you go, it's already been developed. It saves everybody a lot of money, and you say, now we got to customize it to their needs.
Yeah, if there's something that needs to be changed a little bit, we do it,
and then make all the pieces work, because there's no two softwares out there that have ever been programmed exactly the same, line by line, in the history of the planet, just like anybody's DNA. But I personally know some of the stuff, and I brought to you a project. Again, you talk about as much as you want to. I know the guys, and we won't say their names, but pretty awesome. Here's what I'm going to brag about you a little bit, because I know specifically with this one giant program, it turned into a very large project that is ongoing and just amazing. But literally, when you get into effectively HR, when you're hiring people, there's a whole lot of critical social security numbers. You start getting into the depth of what you're really talking about there. There's a lot of very important things that if you don't have these on the ball, you could be causing yourself major lawsuits, right? And those are very important things. But the HR world has gotten to be even more critical with everything we've gone through most recently. It's like, how do you get these people into the facility working that we know are qualified without having to spend hours and hours interviewing and multiple meetings and so effectively, and I'm not going to hopefully give too much here, but there's a big company called Amazon who's really systematized this. I know there's a big plant out here, a lot of people work at, facility, whatever you want to call it, where distribution center, and they're like, I never met with anybody. It was all automated. And then we had a client that came to me who I said, this would be a great project for Brandon. I said, how can we automate the similar process for their industry? I won't even say what that is, for their industry, which is different. And now you've got a machine that essentially is on par with what Amazon has put together. From my estimation, based on what I've seen the back end, I've seen how it works. This is a big deal. Tell everybody what that really means from a business perspective and why. Like you told me you took on this project. You're like, I have a lot of this already in my realm, so we don't have to start from scratch on everything. Yep. And then you put those pieces together, and now they've got a monster machine that's amazing.
Yeah, so that goes back kind of to what I was talking about. So we already had a messaging service that was for text messaging, and again, all the login stuff, all the tables and stuff. So really, it was just kind of bolting things together and got basically what you call a minimum viable product. And then once we got there, you could really see that, with everything that was going on with people not, with companies not being able to find people to work and stuff, this tool really smooths that process out. So it's all handled by SMS messaging, and then it's actually an in-house built video conferencing that's 10 times easier to use than Zoom or anything else. You just click it and you're going. It's all mobile, so it works on your mobile phone. Again, everything's scheduled automatically. All the correspondence is pretty much automatic, and then it ties to all the major, we're working on tying to all major job boards, such as like Indeed or Career Builder. So when you post a job as an employer on the system, it'll automatically go into that job board, and then when somebody clicks or applies for that position, they're going to come right into your right into your HR flow. So it takes care of onboarding, all through electronic, and all that stuff. So
pretty powerful. I mean, that is really when you can automate so much of that. That saves companies millions of dollars. That saves us as consumers a lot of money, because they didn't have to spend all this time and overhead sitting in meetings, sending out resumes, doing whatever they do, or going through the resumes. I mean, it just seems to me that this is the way it's all going to go, and it's either you catch on to this or you get left behind. And this is another tidbit I'll throw out there from my perspective from what I understand. This is stuff now that you can bring to the small businesses.
Yeah, so that is the point of it. It is applicable for small to medium business. So again, I got the privilege to be a consultant solutions architect for a very large HR company in St. Louis that I didn't even know did HR, but they do at the highest levels, like Walmart, Home Depot. Those were their clients. And their biggest problem was small business could not use their HR system. It was just too much to do, I guess. So using that knowledge and having the client's knowledge kind of birthed this thing. And we're rolling out this month, so we'll see.
Well, and again, another leap that helps a lot of small business owners catch up, keep up, because this is what the big guys can do. They can spend millions of dollars. Well, if you can't spend millions of dollars, I'm not saying that your product isn't worth millions of dollars, but hey, get somebody that will take on a smaller business, because what's who we've worked with, they're spending, they aren't spending $2 million for the project. I know this last project you're working on, it was worth a lot. Mm-hmm. They got a heck of a deal on it, but it's kind of your passion to help those guys. And so now you're in a area now where you can really help more of that. Would you say, is that fair?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say that kind of talks to a little bit of what kind of business, what kind of software company you are. And I asked that question earlier, I wanted to backtrack, so let's get to it now, and that is when you're comparing, like, there are big other, we won't name any of them if you want to, I know who they are, well known, they're national now, but I know the guys who founded that company based out of St. Louis, and boy, they do some big stuff, but you're a little different from them, but you can do what they do anyway. Talk about that.
If I wanted to.
Yeah.
So, so that's a good point. Code St. Louis, there's a lot of actual surprisingly well-known and a lot of programming companies have came out here because we're surrounded by a lot of Fortune 500 companies in this area. So Code St. Louis did do general software. So you could come to us and say, hey, we want this application. Like 2 years ago, I built somebody a dating app that was chatting and all this stuff. Not my idea. I wasn't super passionate about the project, but I did it. We used to do a lot of those kind of projects. Now we've pivoted towards, again, more in-house type projects. I was I was chosen to be lead an architecture team at Edwards Jones. And I told him on the interview, I have no idea how to even buy a stock right now. So this kind of shows that I'm green in this financial industry, which is to me okay because my robot learns every day faster than me. So, you know, out of that, so the role was to build these tools for financial advisors. I don't know what that still exactly means, but I do know that I'm able to analyze thousands of stocks very quickly and spit out information that I may not know what to do with. Most of the time I do not know what to do with, but if you get it in the hands of somebody who does know what to do with that information, it can be very powerful. Like I said, a lot of times I'm spitting out information, I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I'm okay with that because my robot will figure that out one day.
Well, data is the key to success. One of the largest companies I've worked with for years, they're huge in our shows, or the Cowboy and Judge show. I won't say their name on because I get clearance and all stuff we do, but they're big, and I know they are all about the data. It's so much about data. If you have the data, then you know what your clients are trying to do and where they're at and how they buy and what their interests are. And that is so key to the success on our little planet. And data, data, data. So that's what our friend here, Brandon, can bring to you, everybody. And track the data, filter the data, siphon the data, interpret the data, and make sure that you have the correct data
that you want,
so that you can figure out how to make decisions
right on time. We do take clients, but again, like I said, we want to try to fit them with what we kind of have existing to help the process go a lot faster. And then we're looking to release products into the world that we know help other people because it's helped them.
The biggest project, we only have about another minute left here.
Yeah.
Talk about the robot as much as you can or want to. I mean, the robot is the big deal right now. And I got on my notes here to talk about, tell us about the robot. The robot.
So, the robot, again, I briefly touched on earlier, it scans lots of, the entire NASDAQ, the entire ARCA, which is the NYCE, but the electronic version, and then does the crypto exchanges, 4 crypto exchanges. It has buyers and sellers connected to all of those exchanges. And basically it goes through and finds technical trade setups. So there's no opinion, it's all math based on history and, what happened last time this particular setup happened. And then it'll execute a buy. We don't offer this to customers because I think they'd get me in trouble. But I'm trying to we will probably be able to package a crypto version of it out to release to people. But the stock market's still something we're working legally with. I'd say the biggest difference, so other people have robots, I'm not the only one. The biggest difference for ours is we are very risk management heavy. So that I would say that's the largest thing that we do. So we take emotions and risk management out of the trading process.
Well, that's important because this world is full of risk, and if you can minimize that, then you can do a lot more to help people. All right, everybody, we appreciate you tuning in again to Your Little Castle Show. Thanks to our guest, Brandon Twitty here. He's the founder and owner of Code St. Louis, CodeStLouis.com. My name is Carter Rethridge, the Cardinal Cowboy. We'll be back for more. Take care, everybody. Giddy up.